Joining me right now is Georgia Congressman, member of the House Intelligence, Armed Services, and Agricultural Committees, Austin Scott. Congressman, good to see you. Thanks very much. What went on in that chamber last night? How did you vote?
Yeah, I voted for it, Maria. And the thing I want Americans to understand is that, in December when the omnibus bill passed, that's when the money was spent. This is simply a matter of paying for what was spent. And so Senate Republicans, I expect some will deploy tactics. They should have deployed those tactics in December to stop the omnibus from coming across. And this piece of legislation, it is the end result of past spending, and what happened in December, candidly, is where the problem came about. Good things in this bill. It does claw back $30 billion, so it is the first spending cut probably that I've ever voted for that'll be signed into law. The NEPA reforms are good in the bill. The spending caps, that's where we need Americans to hold our feet to the fire, is on the spending caps going forward.
Are they really spending caps, or are they just targets? Because we spoke with a number of lawmakers yesterday who complained about those caps, that there's really nothing to force the hand of anybody not to spend beyond those targets.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is Americans need to hold our feet to the fire as the Republicans in the House. We have some control of the purse strings. And so if we hit those spending caps, if we don't break those spending caps, then I think that we will have done our job for the American citizens in bringing spending under control. So there is an enforcement mechanism, which is that if there is no agreement on the appropriation measure, then there's an automatic 1% reduction. And so that's something that Congressman Massey had and proposed it as a suggestion. I think it was a good suggestion. That is the enforcement mechanism. And again, we have to do our job and fulfill our side of the commitment as conservatives to actually hold to those caps. And if we do that, then this will be a win for the American citizens.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do about the fact that the Speaker said that President Biden would only discuss 11% of the budget? It was walled off from the Speaker of the House. I mean, you've got defense spending here being debated. Morgan Ortagus, Lindsey Graham, both saying that this is going to shrink our military by about 6% in terms of real terms over the next 2 years. This is one of the issues that both of them were complaining about, because the increase in defense spending when compared to inflation is actually a decline.
Sure. So I'm on the Armed Services Committee. I will tell you, I've heard the complaints. So you've got some Republicans complaining that it doesn't spend enough in this particular case because it doesn't spend the money on defense. I will tell you that the national debt is a national security threat. I do believe, as a member of the Armed Services Committee, as I look at the DOD, there are plenty of efficiencies to be found there. And so I'll just give you one example, Maria. Cargo ships that we need to move our equipment overseas. There's no reason that we can't buy used cargo ships. These aren't aircraft carriers. There's no reason that we can't buy used cargo ships manufactured in Japan or somewhere like that to help reduce the spending that we have in the DOD. So there are a lot of things that can be changed in the DOD with processes, and we can find efficiencies in that area. And look, we have to have a strong Defense Department. Yeah. But look how much money they spend on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and those types of things that candidly are hurting the military, not helping.
Yeah, I mean, and the same deal when it comes to the number of ships that we're expecting in the U.S. Navy versus the Chinese Navy. We're on the brink of perhaps a major issue with Communist China, and their fleet size exceeds ours. But I want to switch gears and get your take on the Oversight Committee business, because James Comer announcing he will begin contempt of Congress proceedings against FBI Director Christopher Wray. Wray once again refusing to physically turn over that unclassified document that links then Vice President Biden to an alleged $5 million criminal bribery scheme. Wray offering Comer to view the document in person at FBI headquarters with redactions, Congressman, but it doesn't look like Comer is going to take that up. He wants the document in hand. What can you do about it?
Yeah, no, I think that Director Wray will, if he makes that choice, he will be held in contempt of Congress. And Maria, look, there's just a huge double standard with the Justice Department. Whether this was Donald Trump or Tim Scott or a Republican city council member, if the FBI had something that was damaging to a Republican or a conservative or somebody that the Justice Department didn't like, I can assure you that I personally believe it would have made its way into the press by now. And so there's a double standard in the Justice Department, and that is the issue. So if there is something that implicates President Joe Biden, If it had implicated a Republican, it would be in the press, and I think that Congress should see the document.
Yeah, that is really terrible. I just don't know what contempt of Congress really means. Is that going to affect Christopher Wray in any way? We've seen contempt of Congress before, and the people were still in their jobs, and nothing changed.
No, he'll have his job until there's a new Republican president, I expect. I mean, look who he's protecting. Look how the Clintons have been protected over the course of time. I mean, look how the intelligence agency, former members of the intelligence agency, protected Joe Biden and his son during the presidential campaign. I mean, they talk about Russian interference in the elections. The Justice Department interfering in our elections and covering up the truth is a much bigger problem than any foreign adversary that we have.
Yeah, that's really discouraging, Congressman. We're going to be watching your moves. Thanks very much for joining me this morning. Austin Scott. Thank you, sir. Quick break, and then we are just